Hello and welcome to my Arknights SSS guide. Today we'll be looking at Iron Carrot Mine, and this is the third in the series of 4, covering all towers with more or less the same team. Obviously, within each tower, we might be changing directions in what units we're searching for, but in general, we're going to be starting with the same team and using the same basic strategy to cover every single map of every single tower. I had originally planned to record all 4 in one shot, and I fell asleep after the first 2. I'm going to be doing Iron Carrot Mine now, and the 4th one will appear later, whenever I have the energy to do them, because I personally don't enjoy SSS. So if you've seen the other ones, then you'll know that you'll know the reasoning for all of these. Otherwise, I only change for Medic B for the purpose of reviving a down operator. We don't really have to worry about the amount of damage that we're taking in these runs. It's all just going to be majority of our damage is going to come from range damage. So we're going to be leaving it as at setting B for medic. And the off chance that for whatever reason an operator dies, if you do happen to take a medic, you have bad choices, or you find a lancet, then it's an easy way to revive an operator and keep that buff alive. Specialist A, we don't start with a specialist, but I'll mention in the next screen. Here, we have a lot of supporters. We can be swapping out one of the supporters, especially Heidi. It's a good opportunity to switch for something like a Gladia, because then you can cycle in a high or low ground unit for a minimal DP cost. Otherwise, Saga being the only Vanguard is a little rough. So you might choose to take another Vanguard to open as well. This is going to be completely dependent on your views, but this is what I'll be starting with, and we'll go with this for now. For the entire run, we'll be using Golden Glow S2. It's nice, easy, lazy. We don't have to work too much with it. And yeah. We don't have to start with the Golden Glow. And so the basic principle of this is that we're only going to be assigning an operator once we've cycled out all of the units that we have in our possession currently. So right now, I still have to replace Black Knight, and I still have to replace Exu, and now I have no other operators I need to use, so I cycled it. Now I get Aya, and we do the same thing. And so we're going to be using this basic principle the entire run. And in every single tower, you're going to see me use roughly the same strategy. So I accidentally assigned, I got the Exu, but I should have waited till the Aya was cycled out. May as well take advantage of it, and here we go. And we repeat. And now that's already done for the Golden Glow. And now you might end up in a situation where your caster slot is lagging behind, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace one of the slots with a sniper. And this still improves DPS. At this point, we've pretty much completed the map. And when you feel confident that you've completed the map, you have your buffed ranged DPS, you can go ahead and just put the Mudrock down, and that'll finish the run. Now, on a map like this, it's floor 1. You don't need the Aya. You would have been fine with just the Golden Glow and Mudrock. But it's just for illustration purposes, and you tend to be able to make both of them at the same time anyway. So here we go, floor 1 is done, on to floor 2. There's only a couple of floors that will I'll talk more about them after, but there's only a couple of floors that will really be something to pay attention to. As I mentioned, the Vanguard situation is a little weak to start with this one, so it's nice to pick up another Vanguard ASAP. And then otherwise, we can be looking at more supporters to keep that cycle going. Especially since we're not going to be taking any gadgets later in the run, it's important to get that cycle set early and have enough supporters to not soft block as much. So placements in Iron Carrot are very, very kind. There's not too much work that we need to do. Not getting any of the units I need. There we go. There's one of them. And I'm just going to wait for Exu to kill this before I retreat her. There we go. Done. And we continue. There we go. So our caster slot is ready. So as soon as we get Aya back, and we just finished our sniper slot. So I'll call the different slots caster and sniper slot. So the caster slot is going to be dedicated for Aya, with the sniper slot going to Golden Glow. And at this point, we've more or less finished the run. The Flametail and Saga will take a little bit of damage heading into the rest of the run. So it's not a bad idea to swap into Mudrock. And we can just sit back. We will finish the run. If things get tricky, you can always replace the Saga with Roberta as a reset. You should also have enough points to fish for a bit more. There we go. Nice and easy. So this is one of those examples where it's not a very good set of options. So one thing that you can take is the Melantha. We don't deal physical damage, or at least ground damage. Sorry, not physical, ground damage. Low ground unit damage very much during the run. And at the most, you have Mudrock in. So something like a guard is not very important for us. You're going to see I don't start with any guards. I don't take any guards, at least unless I have, except for one of the maps or one of the towers, start building a guard. But otherwise, for the most part, we're not aiming to pick up guards. Meteorite is extremely expensive for a sniper, so this is a questionable pick. It's not a bad pick, but it's a questionable pick. It can be used to cycle one of the high ground ones, but again, not a great pick. Gavial in this case can be used to reset an operator if we do have a situation happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Gavial. And here we have two options, so either Vanguard or Supporter. Neither one is a bad choice. I'm going to take the Texas in this case, as it will help with low ground blocks. So there are 2-lane maps in this tower, so having that extra the extra pair of hands and that extra chance to make sure that you don't end up with no low ground units right at the opening of a run. So there we go. Text is already coming in handy. And we're going to be setting up at the top. And the Sculptor, in this case, is not actually going to get cycled. We're just going to be using her down for buffs. I'm just going to wait for the bully to take more damage. And there we go. Done. At this point, we have enough guard. We have enough guard damage, or sorry, Vanguard damage. I'm going to go ahead and place the Mudrock. Mudrock with 4 Vanguard means that she will instantly cast her or charge her skill. And that should be enough to clear the mission. Now we will be aiming to replace Haiti, but this should be enough already to clear the map. And we got our Aya. Since it's so late in the run, you don't actually... I wouldn't worry about it. It'll happen, and it might happen in other maps as well. You don't have the 5th buff. Not the end of the world. You're already in your final wave. Just live with it. The Iron Carrot Mine in particular is not very strict, so we have that going for us as well. So one of the things that we'll be looking to pick up in the next few selections is another defender, and this is going to be used to cycle with the Vanguards to get a certain block count for Mudrock, and it'll depend on which mission that we're facing, which floor. But on the final floor, the boss floor, it is nice to have higher block count for Mudrock, whereas the Vanguard stacks for Mudrock are not terribly important. We can go ahead and pop this, clean this up more quickly, and we're done. This map is relatively easy because we essentially only have one lane. So here what we're looking at. We might want to cycle another caster. This will make it easier to get those buffs up instead of just constantly dropping supporters. And I'd be looking for another anti-air sniper, so a cheap sniper to place down. Rosa is very expensive. And as I mentioned just before this, we're looking for another defender. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that defender now as Vulcan. Vulcan is expensive to drop, so you do have to be aware. But unless you're getting something like Noir Corn, in general, you're looking at more expensive drops anyway. Vulcan obviously being an entity defender, so it is very much more expensive. But you're not going to be cycling defenders all that much in general, so I wouldn't worry about it. Go ahead and open with 2 Vanguards, if you have to, and start your buffs. Now we won't necessarily need the Vulcan here in this run, but since we have it, we'll use it, and this will give us a 4-block Mudrock later in the run instead of a 3-block. We're not getting terribly lucky on our buffs right now. We got our Sculptor. The Sculptor's really nice for this. When you have extra deploy slots, Sculptor and Suzu make really great options because they don't really need buffs to help perform. And so we're still looking for our snipers, which we just got one. And we got another Vanguard. So I'll be leaving the Texas in the back. I don't necessarily need to replace or buff that. And this is a situation where if you were able to cycle the... using a Gladia, using a Specialist, this would be a good opportunity because I could put the Aya down, get my last Aya buff, or get my last caster buff on this slot, and then replace that. But I cannot do that now. But I just rolled my Carnelian, and there we go, so we're able to complete this. So, I mentioned that this guide is going to be no gadgets. The primary gadget that we're looking for is the buff box, the one that gives +2 to the current buff stack. The second best one is this one here, the reassignment transmitter. It's going to happen with the current setup of SSS that you're going to be running into operators selections that you don't necessarily want. And for example, at certain points in the run, and maybe once you've already set up your Mudrock or other, you don't necessarily want the Vulcan sitting around taking up a slot here or at worst taking up a preparation slot. So you might want to filter them out using a reassignment transmitter and actually get a bonus out of it for doing so. So these are really great to have in the run. Otherwise, recuperation and preparation area transmitter, these are equally good. Recuperation maybe is a slight preference, but in general, those would be my third picks. And at that point, you should always be able to get one of those. And we finished our Golden Glow. Go ahead and get that 4-block Mudrock. And we're done, more or less. Now from here we wait. The positions of Golden Glow and Aya can be swapped. It doesn't really matter. And we should be able to just sit here for the rest of the run. Obviously press Aya to kill the special enemies to get your gadgets. Or don't take the gadgets at all. And you're good to go. So this equipment activation valve is my preferred, with the reassignment transmitter being the second highest. Equipment activation valve is by far the best thing that you can take, at least in my opinion, as it just saves you so much time cycling buffs. especially in the case of the sniper buffs, where the snipers themselves are not going to be able to produce that much damage. So you're very much just restricted until the time that you get those 5 sniper buffs down. That's one of the main reasons why that equipment activation valve is so valuable. If you don't get good snipers to cycle in more, then you're going to be stuck throughout the run, where it's going to be taking time to activate Golden Glow. And that comes to one of the other points where you might decide to actually just put a caster buff down for Golden Glow so that you can accelerate her, because it's taking so long in the run. You can accelerate her using a caster buff and just fill up the 5th buff slot, because the caster buff does give attack anyways, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. And let's get this cleared. So I've seen runs where you get 0 equipment activation valves. This one is a 1. Usually 2 of them will pop up throughout the run, and very rarely I've seen 3. And then otherwise, I've never really found a use for emergency recall bucks. But yeah, it does exist. One thing to be careful of that I just remembered in this particular strategy is that some of these operators have special summons, and this can take up your deployment bar. And this can stop stuff from spawning in properly. So just remember that. Now we have another case where Lee is not particularly good for this. Dusk is extremely expensive for a caster. We have Gumi or Leech. So having an extra Vanguard. At this point, we already have quite a few Vanguards. We have 3 low ground, 1 high ground. And Gumi, we already have 2 defenders. Neither of these is particularly important. I will go with the Leech. It is quite a useful operator to have in the background. We have Nightmare, so a decent caster buff. It would be nice to get, or we can also go with Praminix. I may go with Praminix in this case. Rosemontis is an expensive sniper, but seeing that we have very few snipers, it may be becoming a bit more pressing to get a sniper in this run, an extra sniper in this run versus just Exu and Justice Knight. And here we're going to be coming into one of the dangerous maps in this tower for this team anyway. Because it's a 2-lane, it's very much a 2-lane map, and we have to spawn camp quite up front. So we're going to go ahead and start without a defender. We're going to be focusing We did not get any other casters that we wanted, so we got 1 sniper. So we're trying to rush this sniper portion. And this is the key to this strategy, is that both Aya and Golden Glow will be able to hit both top and bottom lane, because otherwise this is quite a very split strategy. Arnelian. Arnelian again. I very much forgot Saga doesn't kill these. So that's okay. And we've finished the caster slot, and we are very far from finishing the sniper slot. So this was quite an unfortunate split. So as I just mentioned before, you might end up in a situation where it'll just be preferred to skip the the last sniper buff. It's not the end of the world, but we're already running into a later part of the run. And we haven't even started charging Golden Glow. So we're going to go ahead and start charging Golden Glow in this case. And we should be good for the rest of the run here. Press A if you need to. And what you can do is you can put Suzerain down here. Or Sculptor can also work in this spot. And this will help support both the top and bottom. So at this point, we've more or less gotten all the extra units that we're looking for in the run. The only thing that would be nice is getting some cheaper snipers to help cycle for Golden Glow faster. But again, it's not the end of the world. Now, if I retreat the Vulcan, then Golden Glow would actually be attacking at that top spot. Depending on your situation, if you still need DP or not, how confident you are in the blocks and whatnot, then Vulcan can be replacing straight onto the Texas, and you don't need the Texas. We still needed a little bit of DP, and Texas was currently blocking blocking one set of slugs, so I decided to put the Vulcan in front. But overall, you can put the Vulcan directly on the Texas, and that's it. We're done this map. This is one of the harder ones of this tower to complete, but if you get Golden Glow set up and helping top and bottom lane, it's very much quite simple. And this is the other difficult part of the run. One of the nicest spots for Golden Glow is here on this tile. So if you are using equipment activation valves, or you are slower on your, if you're relying more on the equipment activation valves, you can't place them and support this tile. So I'm going to take Posy. That's actually not bad. It's a roughly 20 DP pickup, so that's quite nice. Snowcint is another good option. So let's say you already had 3-4 snipers. Snowcint would also be a very good option here. I did not start with Gladia, so taking an option like that is quite nice. We already have 2 defenders. It's not terrible to take another defender. We could also be taking Deep Color to help cycle more. That's going to be very much dependent on your situation. In this case, I do know that I want to cycle more on this map and get the sniper buffs set up quite quickly. So we're looking to get an Aya quite early in this. And we got the Aya, so you're going to go ahead and be able to use the Aya to clear out this ship. And done. So we managed to clear this early wave, and I am stuck cycling with it. This is one of the downsides of having too many supporters, is you can very easily end up in a situation like this, where you do not get your desired units. So we got Poziemka again. Go ahead and start cycling that. And we have Golden Glow fully set up and ready. So now we're going to be prioritizing fixing our front line here. And one of the nice parts, again, Sculptor, you can just use this to buff. It's not too much to worry about. And we are going to be aiming to get Aya back up, as well as... I don't even know what's happening there. It's too much stuff. We got Carnelian, so we very much just need Aya at this point. And Aya has appeared, and now we've more or less completed the run. You still want to make sure to build up the Vulcan and have enough block. So we can cycle the Vulcan now. And we got the Mudrock. So one thing that you can do, depends on how confident you're feeling. We can place the Mudrock directly back in, or with the... Yeah, we can place the Mudrock directly back in. I'm going to start cycling a little bit more. But overall, this should be sufficient to clear the run, if you decided to place Mudrock directly in. So I was hoping to get some of those Vanguards left that are left in the pool to get Mudrock to 4 Vanguards, or cycle the Vulcan and get a 5 block. Again, not a very big deal. And so you don't have to press Aya right away. You can wait till these boats stop moving. And then press the Aya. So they do another pass here. And they should stop moving. There they are. And we can go ahead and take care of all of those. And nice and done. Nice and clear. That's probably one of the last dangerous maps of the run. This next map with the Wraiths, you can leak if you get unlucky. You'd have to get quite unlucky with your picks. So we can get another caster here. I'm not too worried about taking Aurora or Blaze or Tilo. Remember, I don't take guards, I don't take medics, really, and Aurora is not going to be terribly useful for us. So I'll go ahead and take the Eben just for buff cycling. And again, we're running into a situation where we're getting a lot of casters, not a lot of the rest. And I'm going to go ahead and take this CEO. So it would have been nice to get another sniper. And at this late in the run, I would have taken a more expensive sniper. But alas, no snipers have spawned there. And we end up with a lot of casters. So we might decide to use caster buffs with the Golden Glow instead of just the attack speed as we've been doing. It will be more dependent on the situation as it comes up. And we'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and place the Black Knight over on the right. And I'm going to leave the A out, and I'm going to stop cycling here. And we will clear out this, and then we will continue our cycle. Oh, I had a CEO. I didn't even notice. So one thing is, with the Sculptor, we can decide to, similarly that I've done in the others. Sculptor is here. Unfortunately, I don't have my... Yeah. So we're at 4 buffs. And unfortunately, it's not looking great here. Going to go ahead and place the Mud Rock right away. And we finally got our Golden Glow ready. And now we should be more or less consistent for the rest of the run. If we could get our Aya going, that would be great. And there it is. And there we go. We've cleared the run, or we've cleared this floor, and onto the boss floor. So it is, depending on your buff, so as I mentioned, the equipment activation valve is super nice to get that Golden Glow going. You probably noticed that Exu is doing very little damage, very pitiful amounts of damage, even with those buffs, and that's why it's so important to get those sniper buffs going to get your Golden Glow active. And again, we're stuck with expensive caster, and we already have 5 casters, Guard, and Medic, which we don't need, or Corcus. I could be taking the Warfaring to give a damage buff. We already have very many supporters, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. And we got a blue poison, so now we can cycle our snipers a little bit faster. Golden Glow S2 or S3 works for this map. S3 could be nice to try and spawn camp the boss without having to leave your gate camp, your blue box camping. So you'll just be setting up around there. Golden Glow S3 can be used to target the boss early. Otherwise, Golden Glow S2 is just more lazy AFK. You don't have to worry too much about it. It'll activate itself and take care of itself. As I mentioned, Saga's really, really nice for this opening because of this dodge with Clear Mind. It makes it really effective at tanking these early enemies without too much difficulty. As it will proc, unless you get extremely unlucky and they hit her 3 times through her dodge. But in general, you'll be sufficiently okay. I didn't even check if my Warfaring was on S1 or S2. That is a mistake. I don't even have Warfaring here. That's a lot of snipers. I do have my sail, so I'm going to stay with this opening. Having 1 low ground, 1 2-block Vanguard is quite nice for the opening, but I think we'll live. And we've already finished most of our sniper requirement. And given how many more are going to be in the queue, I'm not going to worry too much about cycling Posy out. So I'm going to leave Posy down. And what I'm looking for... Okay, I did leave this on S2. What I'm going to be looking for are more for low ground vanguards. And there we go, we got one. And we got a second one. So we can go ahead and place the Warfarin here. The Warfarin is not going to be for healing. I don't normally get a Warfarin, so it is what it is at this point. And we're just going to be using this for an added damage boost for one of our 2 high ground DPS units. So we're going to go ahead and wait for... I should have cycled Roberta using Flametail, but it's not the end of the world. So as you can see, we're taking quite a significant amount of damage here. It is one of the unfortunate parts about this particular map. But if you're taking too much damage, go ahead. And we should be getting more or less there. Now we have enough of the... We have enough caster. And we are just looking for our snipers now. One sniper, and we're done. And there we go, a 4 Vanguard, 1 Defender Mudrock. So this will be a 4-block Mudrock, and we have Sail in the back to help with stuns and slows. And we are just looking for our Aya now, and we have finished the run. You don't really need Aya at this point. Gnosis would also work. You just keep spamming freeze, nothing gets through, you're good to go. You can use Angelina. Be careful about taking from your prep area while there's a wave going on, because you can just get everybody stunned, and it is quite troublesome, and you can very easily leak 5 units or 3 units and lose your run and lose your flawless. So now there you go. There's 1 stun. We got our Aya. We don't need to pull any more units throughout the run, so we can just leave everything as is. We do have Crown Slayer, so you do want to keep track of where she is, because you'll be using Aya. You'll be using Aya primarily when Crown Slayer shows up, and this is where it comes down. This is where it comes up, where Suzerain doesn't need buffs or additional power or anything like that to be useful. So she has no buffs. You just use her S3. You get benefit. Sail each. We happen to pick her up throughout the run, and very similarly. So we can go ahead and do this, and... Oh, it even landed on Aya. And there we go. We just shred through Crown Slayer, and we're just waiting for the boss to show up now. We have quite a few crystals in, so if we were to go ahead and take units, we'd probably get stunned. I'm just waiting for Warfarin because I'm lazy and bored. I don't know who it's going to land on, but here we go. Landing on Golden Glow. And GG. Iron Carrot Mine. Flawless clear, so you would get the badge for this, and hopefully that helped. I already have the badge, so none for me. And there you go. Hope this helped you. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions or recommendations or tips for other players that maybe watching this guide you didn't pick up, or I didn't talk about it, or I didn't cover, whatever it may be. Maybe you have more tips for them. Go ahead, put that in the comments, and thank you and have a great day.